Hey, this is Corey from Wolfpack Woodcraft, and I read a lot of books. I like outdoor preparedness books. I read a lot. I've reviewed a ton of books here on the channel. It's kind of been my 2021 thing, is my book reviews. And I get accused of only giving good reviews. Okay, the people are saying that there's no way I enjoy every single book as much as I enjoy every single book that I've reviewed. And the truth is I am not a speed reader. Okay, I don't read very quickly. It takes me a long time to read a book. And because of that, when I don't enjoy a book, I don't finish it. I don't invest a lot of time in something I'm not enjoying. And so I have a pile of books here that I have not finished reading. Therefore, it wouldn't be fair for me to review. It wouldn't be fair for me to tell you that how, a lot of these books just aren't for me. Okay, and just because they're not for me doesn't mean that they don't deserve a positive review. And so I'm going to go through them. I'm going to tell you why I haven't finished them, and then you can make up your own mind from there. So, first is the Handbook for Scout Masters. This is the original 1914 edition. And the reason I haven't finished this one is because what I thought it was going to be, I thought it was going to be a bunch of skills that you need to have to be a scout master, like whittling and starting fire and building shelter and all of these different things. But what it actually is, with the first chapter or maybe a couple of chapters, are how to just be a scoutmaster. Things such as make sure that you show up early and have everything set up so that when the scouts come, they can jump right into the project and they're not standing around waiting. Make sure that you say the oath at certain times. Make sure you do this, make sure you do that. And I have no plans on ever becoming a scoutmaster. And so this book just doesn't pertain to me. And so, yes, it might have those skills later on in the book. Yes, this book might be exactly what I thought it was later on. I just haven't got to it yet. And honestly, when it comes to choosing this book or another book, I usually pick the other book. So, next we have the U.S. Army Guide to Map Reading and Navigation. Now this book, the text in this book is tiny. Okay, so yes, it is a small book, but there is a ton of information inside this book. There's a ton of very large pictures in this book, and I'm sure I could learn a lot from this book. I just haven't invested the time in doing so. It's one of those things where I'm not interested in how to find an exact pinpoint within an inch or two location of something. Typically, I just need to find a town, or I need to find a highway, or I need to find something where I don't need exact pinpoint GPS accuracy. I just need to head in a general direction, and I already know how to do that. And so for me to learn these skills, yes, it would be important. It's just not something that I'm eager to jump into. Next, we have Living Off the Grid. Now, this sounds like a book that I would be interested in. I hate this book itself. This book is not a very high quality book. I tried to keep the spines of my books as nice as I can, so I don't like to crank them open. But this book, the text goes all the way into the spine. This book is so stiff. It's stiff, it's loud, and the text goes all the way in there. So the only way for me to read this book is for me to open it and read it that way. And because of the quality of this book, I just don't read it. To be completely honest, it has nothing to do with the book itself. It has everything to do with the quality and the build of the book, is why I don't read it. Next we have Survival. I got this one in a battle box. I didn't pay for it technically. I did pay for it because I paid for the battle box, but I didn't choose it, and so that's why it is what it is. This one I got in a battle box as well. This is Survival. This is Headquarters Department of the Army, October 1970. So this is an Army book. And typically I don't get into Army books very often because, well, two reasons. One, I'm not in the Army. even if you are in the Army, usually when you are in a civilian scenario, you don't have access to a tank. You don't have access to a radio where you can come and call striker fire. You don't have the ability to do a lot of things that the military and people in the active military have access to. And so the books kind of, they're catered to what do you do when you're behind enemy lines as a soldier? What do you do when you are in your soldier attire, you know? And so it doesn't really pertain to me. But also, the books, if you're in the military, they force you to read it. They go, here, you need to read this no matter what. It doesn't matter if you like it or not, you have to read it. And because you have to read it, they typically aren't enjoyable to read. They're usually, if this happens, do that. 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 And it's like, oh, and they drag on and on and on. They're not fascinating books. They're just do this or do that. Do this, then do that. Do this, then that. Do this or that. And so I haven't jumped into this one. I don't usually buy military books for that reason. I have read a couple. I borrowed them from people, and I haven't liked either. I think there was two, and I didn't finish either one of them, and I didn't enjoy either one of them, and so I don't really jump into military books that often. Next, we have the Guide to the Superior Hiking Trail. I live in Minnesota. Superior Hiking Trail is a very big part of Minnesota, and I got this book when I became a member. I became a member of the Superior Hiking Trail. I donate to the Superior Hiking Trail to help keep it going for as long as possible. And when I got this book in 2019, the idea was I was going to read it because this is everything you need to know about the Superior Hiking Trail. It has all the campsites, it has all the free camping, it has everything you need to know. If you're going to through hike the Superior Hiking Trail, this book is highly recommended. And I have no intentions on through hiking the Superior Hiking Trail, but it'd be nice if I could find some free camping and go and make and film there and camp there and, you know, just find some place new and different. Well, I got it in 2019, and then 2020 there was a global pandemic that really made things complicated. And then in 2021, the entire state of Minnesota was in a severe drought. Okay, so this year, 2021, there was a severe drought. At one point, the Superior Hiking Trail, all state land shut down. You weren't allowed to go there. You weren't allowed to spend the night there for a while. So there was all these rules and regulations and wildfires and complications. And so 2020 wasn't my year. 2021 hasn't been my year. But maybe 2022 will be the year where I go to the Superior Hiking Trail and find my spot. The other thing is it's a 4.5 hour drive. And so it's not something that I want to spend 4.5 hours in my vehicle to spend a couple hours there and then it's 4.5 hours back. If I go there, it's going to be for an entire weekend. It's going to go for a long weekend. I'm going to spend time there. I'm not driving all that way just to spend a couple hours. And so I need to be able to spend the night. I need to be able to have gear. I need to be able to enjoy myself while I'm there because it is a long commitment. Next, we have the Poor Man's Wilderness Survival Kit. This book, the problem with this book is it's called the Poor Man's Wilderness Survival Kit. And what it is it's just how to turn garbage into gear. Okay, so instead of buying a alcohol stove, you use a pop can. Instead of buying one of the things is an Altoid survival kit. Okay, so an Altoid stand is very cheap and affordable, but instead they use one of those old Band-Aid tins, which I don't think they've sold Band-Aids in a tin since I've been born, right? And so it's, I don't know, a lot of the things in here, it's just using junk. Like instead of buying a Nalgene water bottle, you just use an old Gatorade bottle or an old water bottle. It'll work the same, you know, and it's like, yes, it will, but it won't, you know, it's not going to hold up as well. It's going to be a one-time use thing. And so instead of spending $20 on a Nalgene bottle, you're spending $2 on a Gatorade bottle 10 times, which is $20, right? And so it's a lot of things like that. Another one of them was using a Bic lighter instead of a Zippo. You don't have to spend the money on a Zippo. You can use a Bic lighter. And I think that's common knowledge. I don't think that this is revolutionizing anything. So it's not a book for me. Okay, it's probably a good book. It probably has its purpose. There's probably people that love this book, but it's not for me. Next, we have The Lost Art of Reading Nature's Signs. Now, this book, I'm excited about this book, okay? I want to read this book. I want to get into it. The problem is it starts off so boring. It's not about camping. It's not about survival skills. It's not about anything. It's about going on walks, okay? So you go on a walk every day, and yes, I understand that if you walk around your block every single day, you're going to notice cloud formations, and what those cloud formations mean. You're going to notice wind direction, and what the wind direction, there are lots of things. The leaf formations, there's patterns that you're going to notice and recognize. I understand that this book does have what I wanted inside here somewhere. It's just getting to it is the problem. And because it is a big book, again, I'm not a speed reader. I have to invest a lot of time to read these books. The time that it's going to take me to get to that point is unknown. I don't know when I'm going to get to the good stuff. And so if I have to choose between this or something else, I typically choose something else. Even though this is one that I want to read, I want to get into it, I want to get to the good stuff. When you have books, like these 3 books are almost the same thickness of this one, it's easier for me to pick one of these up and quick read it in like a few days than it is to invest the weeks it's going to take me to read this one. But I do want to read it. I do want to get into it. This book, exactly the same problem. When Hell Breaks Loose by Cordy Lundeen, I like this book. I've started it lots of times. And I really enjoy the first few chapters of this book. I think I've gotten to like chapter 9, maybe 9 or 10. And I really enjoy those first few chapters. The problem is a smaller book comes along, and I go, I'm just going to read that smaller book, finish it, so that I can do a review on it, or that I can feel good about myself because I actually finished a book. And then I'll come back to this one, and then I don't come back to this one. And then I'm like, oh, and then the beginning is so good. I like the beginning so much that I started over. Instead of just continuing from where I was, I started over because I want to remember the first part of this book because I enjoy it that much. So I started over, and then I get to chapter 5 or 6, and then another book comes along, and then I read that one, and then this one goes off, and then I'll read it again, and I'll get to chapter 8 or 9, and then and so I do. I really enjoy this book. I have to finish it. Both of these books are ones that I plan to finish, but they're big. It's going to take me a long time to read those, and so we'll see. Next is the Bushcraft Bible. Same concept. This one I'm not as interested in. I don't know what it's about. It's the Bushcraft Bible. When it comes to The Lost Art of Reading Nature's Signs, the title intrigues me. I want to learn how to predict the weather. I want to learn how to read different signs so that I can predict different things. That's fascinating to me. When All Hell Breaks Loose is about the mindset, and the survival is mostly in your mind. And so this is the psychology of survival and being a good person and doing what needs to be done when it needs to be done, knowing when to do things the easy way instead of the hard way, knowing when you have to put in the work even though it is hard, to not try to find the easy way because the easy way might put you in more danger. It's a great book, it's a great concept, it's a great idea. I have no idea what this is about. No clue whatsoever. And again, it's that time commitment that I would have to give to it. And so again, if I have to pick this one or something else, I always pick something else because I don't want to invest this much time in something I don't even really know what it is. Next, we have the best tent camping in Minnesota. This should be titled The Most Expensive Tent Camping in Minnesota. And the thing I don't like about this one is the places are expensive. And I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but they're expensive, and they have you packed in there shoulder to shoulder sardines. A lot of these are just packed. You know, you're not isolated. You're not out in the middle of the woods. You're not camping the way that I like to camp. You're not being self-sufficient. You're not being self-reliant. You're in a city full of tents instead of buildings, right? It's tents and campers instead of houses and skyscrapers. And so I don't really care for this book. And that's all I got to say about that. The Emergency Pantry Handbook. This is one that it's not a topic that I'm into, to be honest with you. We have a pantry. I like to keep it stocked up. I like the idea of having food so that if something were to happen and we were locked inside our homes for a long period of time, we have the food, we have the capabilities of feeding ourselves and not getting sick of the food that we have. And I like the pantry mindset. I really do. I just don't want to read about it, you know? And so, yes, this is a book that I should be all about. This is a book that I probably should have read by now, but again, it's one of those, if I have to choose this or something else, I always choose the something else, and it's probably always going to be the case. That's one that I might not ever read, but I'm glad I have it, because just in case that day comes, I'll be able to learn about, I'll be able to better understand the concept of having a emergency pantry and not just having a pantry full of food, right? Next is the Backcountry Cookbook. Now this has like chapters, and like there's chapter 2, like it's a chapter book, but most of it is just recipes, right? And so you have like a recipe, and then you have, this page probably won't be, of course, when you're looking for it, a recipe. And most of this book is just recipes of stuff. Most of the recipes don't even have pictures or anything, so you don't know what it is unless you read it. But I don't like reading recipes, right? So most of this book I'd probably just skip over. But I don't know. It's again one of those things where I just don't want to commit the time to it because it doesn't seem like something that I'm really interested in. This video is long, but I have a lot of books that I don't want to review. Next is the Prepper Workbook. So like a kid's workbook with the crossword puzzles and the find the words and the connect the dots and all that. This is a workbook, but this is based on preparedness. And so you have things like, so this is part of the thing. So like your family information, it tells you why your family information is important, what you need to document. And then there's a little work section here where you put a picture and you fill out one family's information and then your next family, and so that you have all your family's information, and it has all these different things. Here it tells you to draw a layout of your house, so it tells you why having a layout of your house is important, what you need to label, and then over here it gives you a blank sheet to put the floor plan of your house, and so that you can label the emergency exits, the fire escape plan, all those different things. What to do in a tornado. There's checklists for all sorts of different things. It's a really good concept. I really like it, but at the same time, I don't know if it's a good idea. It's a great idea, but it might not be a good idea, because essentially what this is it's a workbook that will get you fully prepared for anything, which is awesome. It's also a very easy way to document and inventory everything. And so there's places in here to inventory your pantry and different things. And it makes it very easy to do that because it's all just checklists. It's all just fill in the blank, right? Problem is if I fill this out cover to cover, I'm going to have a really, really good resource of all my preps, all my information, everything I need to know will be in this easy to access book. Problem is if somebody gets this book, if I have it filled out completely and somebody gets it, somebody goes through it, they're going to know every single thing there is to know about me and my entire family, which is kind of scary, right? And so me personally, okay, this is just a personal problem that I have is, yes, I could put this in the safe. Okay, fill it out, put it in the safe. Problem is, if it's in the safe, I'm never going to look at it again. I'm not going to keep it up to date. I'm not going to adjust the inventory. I'm not going to do the things that I need to do because I'm not going to want to go dig it out of the safe. Or I will update it, I will keep it, and it will be around for anybody that comes over to pick up and check out and learn everything there is to know about me and my whole entire family. And so I go back and forth. Part of me thinks that it's awesome. It's a great idea. Part of me doesn't want to put all my eggs into one basket. And so in the comment section down below, tell me what you think of having a prepper workbook with literally all your information in one easy to find, easy to go through book, because the chapters are all laid out too. And so if you need to know something, you just look at whatever chapter it is you need and then you go to it. So the chapters are preparing to shelter in place, preparing to bug out, basic first aid and emergency response, tornadoes and survival storm and severe storms, tropical storms and hurricanes, floods, tsunamis and storm surges, earthquakes, winter storms, fire and wildfire, civil unrest and accidental and deliberate man-made disasters. And so it organizes everything for you as well. Okay, it's not just all your information is here. All your information's here. It makes it super easy and accessible to find what you are looking for. If there's a medical emergency and you need to bring your kid to the hospital and you bring this with, you'll have all your kids' medications, everything you need to know for that trip is in this book. And you just look at whatever chapter it is and you can find it easy. And so it's awesome, but I don't know if I'm ever going to do it. I go back and forth constantly. Every time I look at that book, I go back and forth. So seriously, in that comment section down below, tell me what you think. Next is the nuclear war survival skills. And the reason I haven't even looked at this book is because I am not on that level. All right, if there is a nuclear war, I'm probably a goner. All right. Yes, I like to practice preparedness. Yes, I do consider myself a prepper and that I am prepared for certain things, but I start very, very small. Okay, so the first thing that I prepped for was what happens if our oven breaks. Okay, if our oven goes out and we don't have an oven or a stove, how are we going to cook? All right, well, one, we can use the microwave, but two, I have camping gear that I can use to cook everything in our house. Right, so I solved that problem. That's something that I was worried about, that I don't care about it. If the oven goes out, who cares? We'll save money, we'll buy a new one, and until then, we have exactly what we need to get by. If the fridge goes out, same thing. If the internet goes out, same thing. And so it's all these little things. If we can't get an electrician in, I have to have the tools and the know-how to fix an electrical problem. Plumbing, same thing. Siding, shingles, soffit, fascia, drywall, same thing. If I can't hire somebody to come do it, I have to have the tools and the know-how to do it myself. Even if it's just temporary, I still need to have the knowledge to fix it myself. Mechanic. And so those are the things that I work on, and I'm nowhere near this level. So I haven't read it. I plan on reading it maybe someday, but not someday soon. So those are the books that I started reading, haven't finished, that I want to finish, a couple of them, some that I may never read. So there you go. Not all my reviews are positive. I don't like every single book I read, but these are the ones that you might see in the future, you might not. But in that comment section down below, let me know, again, what you think of that workbook. And two, is there any of these books that you have read that you recommend? Okay, because I own them. I don't have to buy them. And so if there's any of these books that you think are really good and worth my time, please let me know that in the comment section down below so that I don't just pass up on a good thing. So thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you on my next video.